Hello, you beautiful lot. Welcome to the group chat sponsored by Betfair. Look, we've had a record 44 goals in a match week, beating 43, which was set back in 2011 when Alan McInally had 7 times more hair than he does now, and I was 10 stone lighter. Look, here's the first thing to you, Al. Is it entertaining when we get a match week where we have 44 goals? Well, I've answered that question already. It is entertaining, but is it quality, or are we actually now questioning the defending in the Premier League?
Well, let's put one thing first before we talk about. Yes, it is entirely entertaining, and it's fabulous to watch. But if Chelsea have a man sent off and try and play the ball out with their goalkeeper with 10 men against Liverpool, then I would say it's so ridiculous it doesn't even make sense to me. Now, naturally, we want the goalkeepers to play out. We want to try and build things, etc., etc. But just in football, sometimes now and again, it has to get on the pad and go that way. If you try and be too smart and clever, and players will press you and try and win the ball off you higher up the park, then that's what's going to happen. So I would imagine that we might get 43, 44 goals again at the weekend because some of the defending is just so kamikaze that I'm like, I know you don't want to be the one that kicks it long and gives it all. Let's clear our danger. I want to be the one that plays that nice little pass and keeps us with the ball. Well, there's a lot of players who are not good enough to do that, and that's why we're getting mistakes. That's why we're getting turnover, and that's probably why we're getting most of the goals. Having said that, it was a fantastically entertaining weekend.
Yeah. Well, look, I like that. You've gone straight in with Kepa, so that's the place to start. Firstly, then, the 1-2. I mean, look, for all we know, Edouard Mendy could be between the sticks for their game against West Brom. You know, that's all sort of done and dusted. And it's been rumbling on, as we said last week, it's been rumbling on. He's already been in London and so on. Yeah. So you're Frank Lampard. Why are you still picking Kepa if Kepa knows that he's not going to be the number one and that Mendy's coming in, and he's known that for the last couple of weeks? Why are you still picking? Is it a case of, look, let's see if we can get a reaction out of this kid and see if actually this wakes him up a bit? Or, you know, does he want him to make these mistakes to prove a point? What's going on? Because I was at the game and I shriveled up when it happened. You could see it coming. The guy has got no confidence. Andy Townsend was saying that you can't have a team like that is going to try and compete for the title if you've got a kid who's petrified between the sticks, which with all respect to him, he looks petrified, doesn't he?
Well, I don't know is the answer, because he has a perfect experienced goalkeeper in Willie Caballero that could play. Whether or not he's give it, okay, you're the big man. In the cup final, you wouldn't come off, which, to be honest, from then on, I've been a little bit like, he's out, he's gone. I can't even believe he's still there, to be quite frank with you, genuinely. And it's not really, I don't know the lad, but to be honest, he's never really put a lot of confidence in me. And I can't answer your question, Will, why Frank Lampard plays him between the sticks. He's either making an example of him and saying, all right, of all the people that think you're a number one goalkeeper, you're one of them, so prove it to me. But he's simply not, apart from the fact that you were talking about his confidence, which is pretty much shot, which then obviously relates to the back four or back five, whatever it is, and it just ripples through the football team.
So Al, let me, on that point, if it ripples through the football team, do you have to get him out the club completely? As in, like, when Mendy comes in, do you just keep Caballero as your backup keeper? Does he have to go completely given what's happened? Or is there still, at 75 million quid, let's not forget that, that's what he cost, yeah? Do they still keep him at the football club and think that this guy's still got resale value and he still can come good? Or does he have to go completely?
Well, if it was me, I would sell him completely. I'd take a hit, because let's face it, you ain't getting 75 million for him. You might not even get 35 million.
Be a loan
so
or something.
He might be sitting on sidelines, or you try and get him out on loan for sure. I would get him out of the football club personally if it was me. Now, because of the cost and because of the resale on of having spent that money, maybe Frank will sit on his hands and just say, look, you're just going to have to sit and watch for a bit. And it's as simple as that. He as a goalkeeper and person for me has gone ages ago. And unfortunately for him, it's not gone the right way he wanted it to go. And Frank, well, listen, he's already made a decision. the problem is, you've said to me, why is he still playing him? I don't know, because I play Willie Caballero, and presumably Willie will play in the cup game coming up. But he's never let Chelsea down. Kepa has, in more ways than one, and I don't get it. But I would get him out of the football club.
Well, look, this is harsh, so I'm going to make you do it, and I'm not going to do it myself.
Okay,
So we're going to rank Chelsea flops in order of. And I'm going to throw you a few names. Okay. So we know we got Kepa in there, Fernando Torres, Andrei Shevchenko, Danny Drinkwater, and Alvaro Morata, which, just doing the maths off the top of my head, I think we've got over 250, 300 million quid worth of players. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, I'm going straight to the top right away. I think Kepa's been a disaster, an absolute disaster for Chelsea. Number one. By the way, you can't be a goalkeeper in the cup final and say I'm injured, and then your manager wants you to come off, and you're like, no.
And that was the end of Sarri, that wasn't it? That was kind of the end of Maurizio Sarri.
That was the end of Maurizio Sarri right there. And I was inside as a football player. If I'd been on the pitch and I went to him and grabbed him by the ear and went, "Oi, the gaffer's asking," you know what I mean? Who are you?
Which David Luiz did, didn't he? David Luiz did that. Still wouldn't come
exactly. And then David Luiz kind of held back a little bit because he's like, "Oh, he's one of my teammates, etc., etc." From that day on, Kepa's a number one disaster. Disaster. Torres, Shevchenko, Drinkwater. Well, Danny Drinkwater didn't have a good time, so I'm going to put him second, because although he had a wonderful season, obviously winning the league at Leicester, I didn't think it simply didn't work out. In fact, I don't remember anything at Chelsea that even Danny will look back and he thought was a positive. I genuinely don't. So I'm going to go with him second. I'll go Morata third, because the other two I adore. I think they were fantastic. I'll go Morata because when he arrives, you're thinking goals, and header goals and diving goals, and never worked for him. So Kepa 1, Drinkwater 2, Morata 3. I like Shevchenko and Torres. The only thing with Torres,
Chelsea.
Yeah, I know. Maybe obviously Liverpool got the best of Torres without a question. So I'll go 4 Shevchenko and 4 Torres. And 5 Shevchenko, because I still think a lot of the Chelsea fans like Shevchenko, even though you're right, it didn't work maybe as much as what I think. He still lives here. I think his missus is American or something. He still lives in London somewhere. So I'll go Kepa, certainly disaster. Drinkwater 2, Morata 3, Torres 4, Shevchenko 5. Let me know if you agree with me, guys.
Chelsea fans, there we go. Get in touch. Use the hashtag, the group chat. Get involved with this on Twitter, on Instagram as well. Look, I was at the bridge, right, on Sunday, and Thiago had the misfortune of sitting next to me in the first half before he came on at halftime. So his afternoon only got better. But I tell you what, I'm in love. I'm in love with the guy, right? I thought, don't get me wrong, David Silva's my kind of player. You know, that's the emojis where I've got the heart signs coming out my eyes when I watch David Silva play. But Thiago, and look, I know you've seen a lot of him as well play for Bayern Munich, and I've watched him on the telly, you know, for years and years and years, going back to his Barcelona days. I've just got a vision that he is going to be outstanding. He's perfect for Liverpool. Do you know, Al, in that 45 minutes, right, no one in the Premier League, in the history of the Premier League, in a 45-minute spell, has had more passes of the ball than Thiago. Really? 74 passes in 45 minutes, which I found outstanding. And that's including players like, you know, your greats, and especially when you think about City, when the way that they play pass. David Silva, also Yaya Toure, who was an expert at it as well. That is leagues above him in a 45-minute spell. 29 years old. I know we've talked about him before. I just think it was those little blind passes, and maybe he was showboating a little bit because, you know, they were so dominant, weren't they, Liverpool? Yeah. But for me, and I don't want to say it, but I'm gonna hint it to you. Hopefully, no one else is listening with the light blue shirts on. City were the favourites at the beginning of the season to win the league with the bookies. I think adding Jota and adding Thiago, actually, and the way that they played so early on in the season against a team like Chelsea, I think they're outright favourites, Liverpool, to retain it.
Well, City, but the bookies apparently are still favourites. I had told you about Mr. Thiago, and I said I was sitting in the studio Saturday.
Diddy Hamann, right? And I want your view on this as well. Diddy Hamann, I heard on the radio saying that He's not the player that he used to be. He's 20. I've seen him now. They've got the best years out of him, Bayern. And this is a guy that's seen loads of him in Germany as well. When I watched that, I couldn't believe what Didi had said.
No, I don't think Didi's right there. I was going to say that I sat in the studio the weekend and Tony Pulis was sitting next to me and he went, Al, what's this lad like? I went, just wait till you watch him play. Just wait till you watch him play. He doesn't give the ball away. He's happy to take it in any situation what he can. He's got a great engine. And he's probably the best in the world at what he does. Although I must admit, watching Alan for Everton and another one who I just adore in N'Golo Kante, but he does play forward passes. He just doesn't play these little ones. But he'll play a little one left to right and get it back, and the next one goes there. He's that good. Yeah. So I think Didi's wrong there. There's no question. Bayern got plenty from him. Here we go. He was the best player in the best team in Europe that won the Champions League, and he's now playing for Liverpool. I don't see a negativity there.
And Al, at 29, right? Everyone banging on about, people give me this resale value nonsense, right? In football, he's 29 years old. They've given him a 4-year contract. So even if he walks away at the end of his contract, he's still 33. David Silva is playing right now. He'll probably go to La Liga, to Real Sociedad, and be player of the season in La Liga at a team like that because of the way that he plays. They're going to get the best 4 years out of this guy. And
100%.
It pains me to say it. I just think he's not. They didn't have any missing pieces, but you've got to be a hell of a player to make a team like Liverpool better. And I think that he is that player. Yeah,
well, somebody had said to me as well, will he play? And I got it wrong on Saturday because I said, what do you mean, does he play? I said, he's a starter.
Yeah.
And then he didn't start against Chelsea. And I was like, I'm a bit disappointed in that. But at the same time, obviously with the truncated start, et cetera, with the pre-season and everything's a little bit higgledy-piggledy.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the reason why, I put it this way, if he does not start, against Arsenal, he's got to start. I think he will start.
He'd only had a 1.5 training sessions as well, and
true.
Over. He had to have all the COVID testing. That takes a bit out of you and so on. And he didn't want to just throw him in a game like Chelsea just from the beginning. He came on. The fact that he came on at half time, I thought was a statement. And actually, Jordan Henderson had got a bit of a knock, so he came off.
Yeah.
But look, when you look at that three behind the front three, that's always going to start. He can play anywhere along there. I know he played central when he came on because Henderson went off, but he could start for Keita, he could start for Wijnaldum, he could still play Henderson. Fabinho played centre back. They've got options coming out. There is. Look, I've got to stop praising Liverpool. I'm going to catch fire.
but hang on. Do you know what he is as well? He is versatile to the point of if Andy Robertson get injured, he could probably fill in at left back. And still smell enough danger to be defensively minded that he knew his job. Listen, it's a brilliant signing by the manager. How can you prize someone away from European champions? He wanted a new challenge. He's been at Bayern quite a while. He ends up at Liverpool, and Liverpool, without question, are the winners in this one because I am with you. He's a brilliant football player, and I would be very surprised if the Liverpool fans don't love him after 5 or 6 games.
20 million quid. They could drop that on the floor, Liverpool. It's like a £20 note to them. They've lost it.
Well, I nearly interrupted you. Well, sorry to interrupt you this time, but when you're talking about a sell-on value, if he does 4 years at Liverpool, even just 3 years at Liverpool, there's a year to go, they'll probably still sell him for 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Because at 32 or 31, whatever it is, he's not going to be any different a player apart from maybe a half yard shorter. But he's not going to be. I mean, look at David Silva, for God's sakes. I still can't believe Man City have let him go.
No.
And I can't believe he didn't play him in the Champions League.
I know.
I think that's a mistake. And I think eventually, when a lot of people watch Thiago, I think they'll think exactly the same.
Well, look, if he didn't have a year left on his contract at Bayern, if he wasn't out of contract at Bayern, right?
Yeah.
And he's gone for 20. If say he had 5 years left on his deal, what would he be worth at 29? 50 million quid at least?
Well, I was going to say it's going to be more than 20 million.
Yeah.
End of.
Yeah, what a signing. Hey, look, that makes me think with Timo Werner, and I don't know what you made of him as a striker. And look, he ran everywhere. He sort of, he certainly showed willing and he's shown signs and he's won 2 pens in his first 2 games and he looks so tricky. As you said, so often he cutting in from that left is where he looks more effective, which is kind of leads me to think that you could actually play him and Tammy Abraham because he loves that left side so much. But he went with Havertz, didn't he, in that 10 role? And then they had Mount. So it was kind of a front three where they were all moving around. But here's my question to you, Al.
Yeah.
Timo Werner, £45 million signing, which actually seems like a bargain for a 24-year-old, doesn't it? From the goals that he scored for Leipzig and Germany. So last season, right, he scored 35 goals for club and country in 49 games. Decent record, right?
Very.
Diogo Jota, okay, 16 goals, 50 games for Wolves last season. Who do you think this season is? I mean, who would you rather have, and who's going to score more goals this season? You know, obviously Jota's chances are going to be limited.
Yeah.
But if, you know, to pick a sign of that, and I'm only thinking this because look, Liverpool could have, if they'd really gone full throttle after Timo Werner and like Frank Lampard, sent the guy videos, this is how we're going to play. This, I want you to be part of this team, which I don't think, you know, Klopp could do with the front three that he's got. He would have had to have sold Mane or Salah, wouldn't he, to do that? But they could have got Werner. They've got Jota, who is probably going to be a decent signing for them. Initial £4 million going up to 40 odd. But out of those two players, you're the manager, you pick one. You going Werner?
Yes. I think Timo Werner. By the way, there's nothing wrong with Jota. I bet you there'll be loads of Wolves fans are like, oh no, we don't want to be selling him. Because him and Jimenez last night, by the way, I wanted to do a wee section on him because I'm starting to get a bit of a love for him. Because of all the teams that want a striker right now, and Wolves don't want to sell anybody else, by the way. In my head, I was like, Man United can do what he wants better than, you know what I mean? I'm like, anyway, that's another point. I would take Timo Werner because I think he is just, you haven't seen anything yet of what he can do for Chelsea, incidentally. Obviously, he's only played a couple of games, for God's sakes. The boy's different class. And I think his relationship with Kai Havertz will be completely blatantly obvious eventually. And the two of them will be fine.
On that point now, you still think Havertz, by the way, just to interrupt you there, you still think Havertz, as I do, is going to be a worldie because he's already coming in for so much criticism because he's played 2 games and hasn't scored a goal from 50 yards.
Yeah, I know that's the problem. But having said that, how many goals did I see him shoot from 30 yards when he was at Leverkusen? Not many. He just gets in the box and he's a good team player. Don't expect him to get 20 goals, although that's what they'll want. But
is he better than Mason Mount? Because a lot of saying he looks like Mason Mount. He's a bit taller. No, is he a better player than Mason?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. Mason Mount does a good job, does a different job. But listen, there's a few headaches that Frank's going to have, but most of them are going to be good ones because I think both of those young players are going to be fine. They spent a lot of money on them, so there's a lot of expected naturally. But Timo Werner, for me, is a definite goal scorer. The two of them are good team players as well as you know, putting the ball in the back of the net. But out of the two of them, I'd take Timo Werner. But you're right on one thing for sure. The amount of opportunities that Jota will get will be restricted. But having said that, you know, in Klopp, we have faith in, and that's basically what the Liverpool fans will have to have.
And the way that Liverpool do business, Sal, is interesting, isn't it? That and these big clubs, you know, they don't go really in England, apart from Chelsea, who've made a statement because they've missed a couple of windows, and spend crazy money on players. You know, look at Liverpool as well. That Klopp said, no, we're probably not going to do anything, and he's for an initial £24 million. You know, which actually I think for Thiago and Jota is an initial 9 million. So they've actually outlaid 9 million quid. Obviously, that will go up to 20 for Thiago and 40 plus for Jota. But that first year, they're paying 9 million quid. You know, and there's clauses in there and so on. So I mean, it's a completely risk-free bit of business.
Yeah.
But, you know, but signing Jota, okay, let's talk about that then, and that will get us on to talking about Jimenez as well. If you're a Wolves fan, right, and tell me if I'm wrong, Wolves fans. You're a Wolves fan. You've sold after a great season where you played nearly 60 games and you've had whatever you top 6-7 finish last season, or, you know, right up there and Europa League competing to the end of that. And you go and sell 2 of your best players. I know Matt Doherty's the wrong side of 25, but he's still the right side of 30. He's your best right back. You may be signing Semedo from Barcelona, and you've got a decent player in Hover from a young kid from Liverpool is part of that deal. But you've sold Doherty and you sold Jota. And look, and I know the argument that they'll come back with. Nuno fancies Prudence, Neto, and Jimenez as his front three. And at the back end of last season, Jota was coming off the bench and so on. Jota's a proven goal scorer. As I said before, Jota's still got 16 goals in 50 games, 50 appearances last season. So I'd be concerned if I'm a Wolves fan And suddenly we're like, well, we're going to the next step. We don't have Europa League, which is good in a way because we could really have a crack at that top 6. Everton is signing these players and so on, and they'll be on our arse. So why are we selling 2 of our best players? That's confusing.
Maybe the bigger confusing one for me was Matt Doherty, to be honest, because he can play wing back as well as right back. Which Josie, I think, is trying to horseshoe him in just now. But I think he did really good because as a fullback, wing back, right back, he was getting goals as well. But you're right. We actually just briefly said that. There are a lot of Wolves fans will be like, no, not Jota. We don't want to be losing him as well, considering Doherty's already away, etc., etc. But you're right. He likes Podence. He's obviously still got Adama Traore. But a bigger worry for me would have been had somebody gone and given it. There's 100 million for Jimenez because he is absolutely fantastic. But Liverpool have gone, and also I didn't see Liverpool going for Jota. It kind of happened. It went in and it went, and that was it done.
Yeah,
that was it. The Liverpool were in and out, and that was it done. And they were quite in and out with the Timo Werner as well, because at one point I just presumed because it was the German connection that Timo Werner would hook up with Klopp. Not the case. I think he was in. Yeah, and then out right away and said, no, we don't want Timo Werner. We want something else. So he must have had Jota in his head even back then, Will. You know, this has not just happened in 10 days.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of Wolves fans will be genuinely thinking, well, how are we going to get top 6 now or top 8, etc.? But I still thought they looked pretty good against City. They created chances. Jimenez probably should have scored 2 goals. I know he got one header, but he probably should have scored another one. And Nuno Espirito Santo obviously thinks they've got enough. And what he got out of Jota was brilliant for Wolves, but he's kind of in a situation where, remember, sometimes in a football team, we don't really know what goes on. But you can't just be spending another 40 million and 5 million, etc., etc. You do have to sell to fund other things, which would mean, I would think, that there will be more players coming into Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Yeah. Well, on that note, Kevin De Bruyne, again, exceptional for City, wasn't he? As he always is. I genuinely cannot remember, having watched pretty much every one of City's games, certainly since he signed as well, him having a bad game at all. So let me ask you this, right? Mr. McInally, he's in the boardroom. He's at Real Madrid. He's got £500 million checkbook right in front. And I say to you, you can sign one of these 3 players right now for your football club, okay?
Okay.
And this is as they are now. This isn't 10 years ago.
No. Okay.
Cristiano Ronaldo, so bring him back to the Bernabeu, right? As he is now, whatever he is, 35, still a monstrosity of a player. Lionel Messi, Kevin De Bruyne. Out of those 3 players, who is the best player in the world right now that you would sign out of those 3?
Well, that's quite simply a no-brainer, by the way.
Still Messi?
KDB
okay.
all day. Oh, Kevin De Bruyne. Yeah. But hang on. Just before I answer the question properly, did you think he dived rather easily for the penalty?
Oh, come on now. You're better than that. KDB.
Oh, it's ridiculous, by the way. Ridiculous. Seriously, ridiculous. If I'd been the referee, I might have booked him. Right. Anyway.
But even Sterling's getting stick, isn't he, for going down there? Sterling slipped with a little bit of inverted commas. But actually, the first thing that Sterling, and I'm talking about the Cody challenge early on, the first thing Sterling did was go to the referee and said, no. Say it wasn't a penalty. But, we didn't see that out in the first shot on the camera, so everyone said he dived. Why would he go to the referee?
I'm okay with Raheem. I just thought, having said that, you know what I'm like? I think most penalties are pretty soft. Anyway, Kevin De Bruyne, right now, at this moment in time, is, in my opinion, we haven't really seen Ronaldo and Messi play for such a long time now, but Kevin De Bruyne is different class. Listen, Messi and Ronaldo are the top 2 in the last 10 years players that if they would go, well, who would you have in your team? Well, can I get both of them? No, you can only have one. Well, it's impossible. But right now, if you had that kind of money and you're at Real Madrid, you're not bringing Ronaldo back now. Messi's never coming, but he's still fabulous. But he's obviously got a little bit, got demons in his head, Messi, but he's got a few things to iron out with a lot of people at Barcelona. But Kevin De Bruyne, I'll put it this way. If Kevin De Bruyne leaves Manchester City, City can't win the league.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so that's how important Kevin De Bruyne would be.
So do you think then that that he will be a kind of David Silva, Yaya Toure, that he'll stay there, Aguero, for 10 years plus and win trophy after trophy with them? Or if City don't win the Champions League and they're not, and Liverpool are winning the Premier League sort of every other year or every year, that he will think, do you know what? I'll go to Barcelona. I'll go to Real Madrid.
I just think Kevin De Bruyne is in the right place right now, and he seems extraordinarily happy. I've never seen him really complain about an awful lot. He always seems quite a level guy. I don't think there's too much histrionics and excitement in his head at most times. I just think he's such a professional and such a fantastic football player that, I can see him being at Manchester City for 10 years. Something ridiculous would have to happen, which would be what? What do you think would be happening that he would leave Man City, the manager?
If Pep goes?
Correct.
Well, in my head, Pep's gone. End of this season. This is his last season.
In that case, I take it back. If Pep goes, I can see Kevin De Bruyne leaving Manchester City, probably to wherever Pep goes, because Pep would be like, I want him.
Yeah.
I want him, and I want a couple else because he knows how wonderful a football player is. I mean, it's a bit hypothetical what we're saying, and it may never happen. But if Pep does decide to stay, which is not what you're saying, then I can see Kevin De Bruyne saying, yeah, okay, because I know he'll attract players in, and we will eventually get to that point where we're in a Champions League final and hopefully we get the hands on the cup. City are a wonderful football team. They have money behind them. They've already got players right now that everybody would die to have in their team. And Kevin De Bruyne is probably in the top three. No, not if probably, sorry. Is in the top three, and I have to add Ronaldo and Messi because they're so good, in the top three players in the world by a shooting match. He's that good.
Look, that fits into this news which I've been reading this week, and again, it's speculation, but it seems to be building a little bit. I think you're in the same camp as me. I, as a City fan for the last 5 years, have always been worried about Aguero's successor, and that's not Gabriel Jesus in my head. That has to be only one man, Kylian Mbappe. If City sign Kylian Mbappe, right, that is them every year Champions League favourites. That is Premier League winners. You get hold of him, when Aguero probably has one more season max left in him at the club. Liverpool linked strongly to Kylian Mbappe next summer, making that their big summer signing. They haven't spent big this year. They've obviously recouped money as well. They go and get him, and then Firmino probably becomes the second sort of spearhead. That's game over, isn't it? If they get hold of Mbappe.
Listen, if Air United get hold of Mbappe, Air United will win the Champions League. My old team, where it all started for me. Kylian, you've thrown me one in there because I think he's unbelievable. I'll never forget watching him.
He has to be Aguero's replacement.
Have you ever seen him live?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Love him.
Oh my God. I saw him against Iceland for France. They brought him on as a substitute. I thought it was somebody they had just imported from Jupiter. He was quicker than everybody else. His touch was like Messi and Ronaldo put together. He was closing his eyes and passing the ball to the right place. I was like that. Who the hell is this guy? I can't believe I'm watching this. I cannot believe. I was very lucky to play in a Scotland team that got beat 3-0 in France. And Cantona was ridiculous. And I was thinking to myself, I know that France have some good players, but Mbappe is absolutely extraordinary.
Yeah.
And if Man City get him, Liverpool get him, then I don't know. Well, you win the league for the length of time he's at your football club. He's that good.
Better than Henry, Al? Can he be better than Henry?
Oh, aye. Oh, yeah. There's no, absolutely, definitely. Absolutely, definitely. And a lot of people are watching it, giving it, stop going over the top, lads. I know he's good, but he's blah, blah, blah. Just think, if you've just had that thought and said, big man, you're going over the top too much, would you put him in your football team? 100% you would.
100%. Yeah.
So that'll be some bun fight next year then. If Real Madrid want him, if Liverpool want him, if Man City want him, if that'll be, boy, Mbappe in the Premier League, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. Look, I've got 2 more questions for you this week, and I think they're 2 good topics, and this one's going to stir you up a little bit. Manchester United, okay? No one, Al, the way that United finished last season take away the Europa League part of that equation, no one saw them losing at home to Crystal Palace, back-to-back, by the way, because remember, Patrick Van Aanholt scored late there last season. They won, didn't they?
Year.
fair play to Crystal Palace. We both had Palace going down in our 1 to 20s, and I hope you prove us wrong. And there's, talk of even more new signings coming in at Palace as well before the window closes. But look, let's focus on Manchester United. And I'm going to put this one to you straight.
Okay.
Do you think Mauricio Pochettino will be the Manchester United manager before Christmas?
Oh, my God. This will upset everybody. Well, the way it's going right now, yeah. There's a couple of things I've heard this week, Will. And it's a kind of conspiracy theory, and I can't say if it's true or not. But when the team comes out on Saturday, so I finished Sky Sports, I'm driving back up, I'm listening to the game in the car. No Wan-Bissaka, no Matic. And I was like, that's weird. Fosu Mensah right back. Where's Wan-Bissaka? Anyway, get home. Somebody says he can't play them because the two of them have gone on holiday to somewhere they weren't meant to have gone, so they're isolated. And I'm like, what the hell's happening at Manchester United? If you're a manager, now I don't know if that's true. But I don't know why they didn't play. So if they are self-isolating, then that would be a reason, unless they're injured. But I've got this thing in my head. Okay, I've got Sevilla here, a gap, Aston Villa pre-season, Crystal Palace. What in God's name's happened between there that they look so off the pace that Everton haven't? City didn't. Wolves didn't. Palace certainly didn't. So I'm thinking, right, Ollie, you're the manager of the biggest club in the world. What the hell's happened from Sevilla to the game against Villa and to the game against Palace? And I'm thinking, well, everybody's saying, oh, they didn't look fit, and even Ollie's saying, it's the first game, and it is the first game, by the way, and they will get better. But Fernandes wasn't good. Pogba wasn't very good. Defensively, they're looking a little bit slow and cumbersome and laborious, and you're like, what is going on at Manchester United? Now, if it continues like that, it'll be there before Christmas all day long, Poch. I wouldn't like to say that's unfair on Ollie, but I'm thinking, what in God's name, as a manager of Manchester United, have you said, right, okay, by the way, here's a list of places. I know you all want to go away. It's been a long season. You can go there, you can go there, you can go there. But you can go here, but if that comes to isolate, you're not going. I don't care, you've got 8 billion, I don't care, we're paying you 150 grand a week. You can't go. Tell the family, gran and grandpa, we can't go. But it looks as though the players have just done what they want. And if that's the case, there's a problem at Man United.
Fergie would have cut your head off and eaten it in front of you, wouldn't he?
In front of the whole team.
Yeah.
So, and I don't like having a go at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer because I think he's too easy a target. But what happened from Sevilla to Palace, I think the target on his back's become bigger because even I'm now questioning, if I was the manager, I'd have been like, where are you going? No, you're not. No chance. We're training. We've got a big season coming up. We've got 8 billion people that want to come to our home games, and we better be ready. And then that game, you watch it and you think, uh-oh, that can't be right. And maybe we're taking away too much from Roy Hodgson's preparation and the way Palace played. But I didn't see anything from Manchester United that said they could compete with Man City and Liverpool, did you?
No. So, look, you did well there in 6 minutes to sit on the fence.
Sorry, yeah.
Pochettino in before Christmas at United or not?
Yeah.
You got the problem. You're Ed Woodward. He's available.
Yeah.
And I know it's one game, but say that continues and United in November are 6, nowhere near the top 4 in terms of, competing certainly for the title. And those top 4, we talk about 3rd and 4th now, don't we really? But yeah, nowhere near those other places. You get for Pochettino?
Yeah, unfortunately for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I think it'd be one hurdle too many. I think Poch is just waiting for the time now.
Right, and the last
thing... And Woodward probably as well to bring him in to try and change things at Manchester United.
Yeah. Look, again, Manchester United probably win the next 6 games and that talks a whole lot of... That's what we this game. Last time we spoke, Gareth Bale hadn't officially signed. He has now, along with Sergio Reguilon, who was La Liga's left back of the season on loan from Real Madrid at Sevilla and won the Europa League. What a season he had. You throw those 2 players in, and particularly focusing on Bale when he's fit. I think he's 4 games away from playing, isn't he?
Yeah.
You throw Gareth Bale now into Tottenham, especially after watching that Southampton game and actually seeing that, with Son and Kane as a front 3 and Bale, that could be quite a formidable force with Lo Celso behind and then, options coming out your ear. Do Tottenham now, because neither of us had to Spurs in our top 4, do Tottenham now go into the top 4? You definitely say no, even with Bale, and he comes back to the form that he was in, 3 years ago in a Madrid shirt.
Well, that's a maybe, but he'd have to come back to that some kind of form like that. Don't think that Gareth. By the way, I like Gareth Bale, for God's sakes, but I don't think he'll hit the ground running just like everybody thinks he will. He'll certainly be running on. He'll be running on full gas when he gets the opportunity to pull those boots on again. I said that if I thought the way the season would go for Southampton, that Mourinho probably wouldn't be there by Christmas. Let me ask you a question. Is he a Mourinho signing or is he a Daniel Levy signing?
He's a Daniel Levy signing, isn't he? But I'm sure.
Okay, so let's stop right there. That's okay. That's fine, bud. Because I think he's a Daniel Levy signing. And incidentally, a fantastic signing. Yeah. Got to be fantastic. Everybody's now talking about Spurs. Mm-hmm. Pressure's now on Spurs big time. Because if we kind of agreed that Spurs wouldn't have as good a season, well, I certainly didn't think they'd beat Southampton 5-2, right and foremost. Great result for them. Great momentum now going. Where are they? I wrote this down. They go to, where are they?
They've got Newcastle at home.
Home to Newcastle. Sorry, yeah. Favourites to win that, with Gareth Bale just on the back burner, ready to go. It's in a good position at the moment. Certainly good position. But I still think that Mourinho, the way Mourinho is, will throw a couple of curveballs in and everybody will be unhappy again. You just know what it's going to be like. The circus is just going to travel with Spurs wherever they go. But it was a wonderful result at the weekend. And I hope Gareth Bale is successful at Tottenham. If they get it right, top 4. See, I had Man United in the top 4. I thought they'd kick on. They had a great end to the season. Ollie's in the market to buy players. Maybe hasn't done that as well as a lot of Man United fans wanted to do. And I'm expecting Fernandes and Pogba just to be brilliant. And although McTominay's a Scottish boy, I still think Matty's about the best in there. For Manchester United. I like Matic in there. I think he does a really good job. But there's problems at Manchester United. So if it keeps going like that, maybe I should flip-flop Man United and Spurs, because if Spurs hit the ground running and are better than Man United, then they could finish top 4. Of course they could.
So United's front 3, Spurs is front 3, everyone's fit. As I just mentioned there, Bale, Son, and of course Kane. Or then you throw in Martial, Rashford, and Greenwood. Front 3, who's better?
Spurs' front 3 are better. Mind you, everybody knows how much I think that young man has carried Manchester United on his back for a year and a half, Marcus Rashford. Every time I saw him, I was like, Man United are so lucky to have him. And then everybody's telling me about the boy Mason Greenwood and comes on and can't stop scoring goals. But as a 3, then Son, Kane and Bale, I think, are better than Rashford, Martial and Greenwood right now, albeit Bale won't be available for another 4 weeks.
Right, this is the part of the week where, Al, we pick our, second winning ACCA out of about 195,000 shows that we've done over the last season and a half. Look, I apologise. I screwed us up last week. I had a dream, I had a vision, and I'm never going to follow my dreams or my visions ever again. And I thought, Al, that we were doing well. When I got Everton, I got Arsenal, and I got Leeds, I thought, all we need now, Manchester United to beat Palace at home, and Newcastle to beat Brighton, and they both screwed me. Sam Rosbottom from Betfair's with us. Sam, great to have you here, and we've got you out of circuit training as well. So,
hey guys, I've got to. You've done me a favour there, so hopefully, we're going to repay the favour with a winner this week. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, well, look, I'll tell you what. While we pick some teams, you can get Al to take you through a few circuits if you want. Got to warm up.
Pre-season's over now. Pre-season's over.
That's it. My God, I'm just about to say that's a quotation I don't think I've used in 30 years. Is I've managed to get myself out of circuit training this morning.
Yeah. I don't know about pre-season, Al, but I'm sure we'll do a Wednesday club at some point.
Oh, yeah, exactly, absolutely.
Right, come on, Sam. Win the punters some money here. We've got a little. We always have a little argument, don't we, Al, about this? He fancies a couple, I don't fancy them, and so on. But that's the name of the game. So, McInally, older and uglier, he can go first. Give me your 2, Al, and why. What are you thinking? What do you think about this, Sam?
Well, we're in the middle of the week, so we've already seen Man City beating Wolves, but I thought Wolves were really good, genuinely. I thought they were really, really good. I know Man City eventually won the game 3-1, but I'm going to go for Wolves at West Ham. So far with West Ham, everything I hear coming out of the club is a disaster, including on the pitch at the moment. It doesn't look fantastic. So I'm going to go Wolves for one of them. The other one, you're not going to be happy with. And I thought they might go down, but I've got to say, I shouldn't go against Roy Hodgson because he's such a experienced manager and gets the team to do what he does. But I'm going to go for Everton. I've watched them twice now in successive weekends, and they are just a different team under Ancelotti. Quite simply, he's got Alan, who, to be honest, although they gave Calvert-Lewin, and quite rightly, I suppose, he gets the hat-trick, man of the match, he was different class. And it lets Decore and Rodriguez and everybody else just do whatever they want. Yeah. So I'm going to go, it'll be a tough game, but I'm going to go for Everton to go to Palace and win. So my two are Everton and Wolves. 2 away games. One Saturday, one Sunday.
Look, I'm not going to go against you. All I'm going to say is both of us, Sal, had Palace to go down when we picked our 1 to 20s, didn't we, the first show of the season. And I don't know, I'm kind of sticking with that at the moment. But, I mean, Sam, what a start for Palace. Their odds must be changing week by week in terms of, I imagine a lot of punters had West Brom and Fulham to go down, and a lot of them, Palace is that third team.
Yeah, certainly. I think, you look at the outright relegation market and the sort of usuals are down there, the newly promoted. And Crystal Palace were one of those teams that were involved with the punters, had a bit of a fancy for going down. Certainly after that fantastic performance at Old Trafford, those odds have changed. Just looking at this game, Crystal Palace, Everton at the minute, Everton are the favourites on the exchange for this one. So they're around about 6 to 5 at the minute to go and beat Crystal Palace down in London. I think it probably won't be as straightforward given how well Palace did at the weekend against Manchester United. They'll be confident, but at the same time, like Alan, you said, Everton look like a totally different proposition this year. They're not messing about under Ancelotti. He's not just going there for a top 10 finish. And what's really impressed me with Everton is that the new players that they've got in have taken to the Premier League like a duck to water. They're not having any troubles physically, like it's that stereotypical problem. Oh yeah, straight in from La Liga or wherever, and it takes them about 6 months to get used to it. Look at James Rodriguez. There was a lot of questions about him about, he's not that player that was at the World Cup for Colombia all those years ago. You could argue he's looked almost better really with the way he's played, his cleverness and just that little cuteness that real quality players have in the Premier League. So the punters do fancy Everton as well. They're about 6 to 5 at the minute. Crystal Palace, just looking at their price for the weekend, around about 3 to 1 at the minute on the exchange. Fingers crossed for Everton.
Yeah. What I wonder what odds we're getting already. I'm putting you on the spot. You probably haven't got this one. What about odds for DCL, Golden Boot, hat-trick man? He's already got 4, isn't he, in the bag out? What a season Calvert-Lewin's having, and you can see him. He's perfect for Ancelotti, isn't he?
Well, he's. I think you and I had this conversation. In fact, I was golfing with an Everton legend the other day, Graham Sharp, who's heavily still involved with Everton. Yeah. Top guy, and he had said to me a year and a half ago that I'd said, I don't know if he's got it. I don't know if he's big enough and strong enough and broad-shouldered enough to carry something like a number 9 at Everton. But the boy's been fantastic. And I think under Ancelotti, it looks as though he's flourishing. But I think the fact that they've just said to him, look, who else is there, by the way, that can play up top just now? They won't play Moise Keane. Richarlison could play there, but he's better in an away position. I don't know why they even bought Walcott in the first place. So at the moment in time, he's got that thing to himself, but he's delivering. And Graham said, look, Al, he said he's not Maradona, and actually said, but he works his tail off for the team. To be absolutely honest with you, I think he's getting what he deserves. I think he's getting himself in the position in boxes, and actually he's been asked to look, don't be messing about out here. We've got players that can do that. Get yourself in the box, that's where you score goals, and the boy's done that. He's been fantastic.
Yeah. Right, Sam, I'm going to throw mine 2 into the mix here. So I'm thinking on the Saturday, the 5:30 kickoff, West Brom and Chelsea, I'm going for an away win. I was at the Bridge for the game against Liverpool, and Liverpool weren't at their best, but they still pulled Chelsea's pants down, didn't they? And it's going to be a matter of time with Chelsea, I think, isn't it? When they get Werner and Havertz properly fitting up to speed in the Prem, and then you throw in Thiago Silva, and obviously he's getting Ziyech fit, and they're not anywhere near what they're going to be. Chelsea. It was a shame that game, I think, was the second game of the season, because that nearer Christmas would have been more of a contest. However, I think Chelsea are going to have too much for West Brom. So what would that be? 3 defeats on the spin for Slaven Bilic's team, following what everyone thought, going straight down. So I'm going to throw Chelsea in, if you're happy with that one, Al.
Yeah, I was going to say to Sam, how short are Chelsea, by the way? Is it that barefaced that everybody thinks?
Chelsea are real strong favourites. Just looking at the exchange, they're 2-5 at the minute. It's about 1.41. So early on, we've still got a few days to go. They're really, really fancied already. Just on your point, Will, about they're very much a work in progress, I think, at the minute as well. And you can see that. You can see that sort of those glimpses of quality in a game, can't you? But I think very much the opposite to what we said with Everton, where the players have come in and instantly, hit it off and instantly have really taken to the Premier League. I think we're seeing potentially a little bit of a difference with Chelsea, and that could be down to the amount of games that these players have played. You look at how many games he played in the Bundesliga, talking specifically about Timo Werner and Kai Havertz. They played so many matches, and I don't think that's helped. But there's no doubt the quality's there, and I just think it's a matter of time for Chelsea. Like we said, the huge favourites at the minute at 2-5 against West Brom, who I don't think have started too bad, to be honest. They had that had those goals against Everton. It was looking like they could get something out of that, but Everton kicked it up another gear. I think they just need to find their sort of game and their rhythm, and once they get into that, they could potentially cause a few upsets.
Yeah,
I'm happy. Well, I'm happy to go with Chelsea, but Sam, this is the kicker. This will be amazing. This is the one that's going to kill us. Right, Will, what is it?
Well, look, I like to throw a nice 2-5 in. That's why I do play it safe with Chelsea. But honestly, looking down that list, I didn't fancy anything when I was picking these out. I didn't want to touch Brighton Man United after United's performance against Palace. I don't want to touch Burnley against Southampton, Sheffield United against Leeds.
No.
Even City, my old team, against Leicester. I wasn't too convinced about going for the outright win for City on that one. West Ham, Wolves, you've gone without. And then the Monday games, Fulham, Villa, not sure. Arsenal looking brilliant at Liverpool, who yet to really hit full. So look, I'm making excuses, but here we go. I'm going to go for Al, and I know Al's got a thing in for Spurs and Mourinho, by the way. He hates the documentary, he hates Jose Mourinho. However, I'm going to go for Tottenham to beat Newcastle at home. I know they didn't do it last season. It was Joel Linton's, I think, only goal he's ever scored in his life at Spurs. But I'm going to go for a home win. They were brilliant, weren't they, Sam, against Southampton? Son 4 goals, Kane 4 assists and a goal. Apparently Højbjerg had given them all the instructions and told them how to tear Southampton apart. I'm going to go for a Spurs win. What's the prices looking like for that one?
Yep. So you said you'd like a 2-5 favourite earlier on. Not quite 2-5. A little bit, further out at 1-2. Spurs are against Newcastle at home to avenge that defeat last season. I think it's the first game at the new White Hart Lane. But just looking at their performance at the weekend, I think a lot of my Spurs mates who are very critical of Jose Mourinho, Al, which I'm sure you'll be pleased to hear, the Spurs faithful are very much with you on some of those thoughts. Well, certainly the ones I know. They were very impressed with the second half, and if that's a sign of things to come, they're adding Gareth Bale into the mix as well there, then going forward, I don't think they're going to have any issues. It's whether or not, Newcastle can exploit them at the back, where they might not be as strong as Spurs fans and, Mourinho would like them to be. Callum Wilson, he's loving life, isn't he? There's nothing better to see than a striker in the Premier League have a big smile on his face, enjoying himself, enjoying playing football.
Against Brighton.
Yeah, well, it happens. I'm sure it happens. How many times have we seen City miss?
McInally missed it. Go on, finish that sentence.
No chance. And by the way, I will say something about Spurs' result at the weekend. I thought they were under pressure as a football team and a management team more than any other team in the Premiership because of the start. And you've got to say, to get 5 goals and play against a team that actually took the lead. So you've got to show a little bit of character. So it's not that I don't like Mourinho, it's just that he frustrates the life out of me. He is obviously a very good manager, but at the same time, I always feel as though his team is a reflection of him. And if he's managed somehow to have a good week's training and go and score 5 goals, then with a bit of luck, you're going to be right, and Spurs will beat Newcastle. But it's one I just would stay clear of with a bar's pole, to be honest.
On that point as well, I think what is really impressive is, you look at that changing room and you look at Gareth Bale, who's coming in. He's won 4 Champions Leagues. You know, the players in the rest of that players in that changing room have barely won a trophy between them. So instantly, you know, the pressure is going to be on those players existing in that changing room to really step up their game for when a player like Gareth Bale's in there. But then you look at the performance that he did, you know, from Son and Harry Kane on the weekend, and now the pressure's back on Bale. You know, it's great message to send out to you know, to Gareth, to say, you know, we're not just a team of players that don't win trophies, etc. You know, we're gonna, you know, this is what we can do, and I think that's a real exciting prospect for Spurs fans. That front three is going to be amazing, isn't it? But yeah, big favourites on the Betfair exchange for the weekend against Newcastle, 1-2 at the minute.
Hey, Sambo, listen, a 1-2 winner is better than a 10-1 loser. That's what McInally told me a good time ago. Not that it's paid off, but look, we need to get. I'll tell you what, if we don't get a winner soon, me and McInally are going to be. We'll be out of work, won't we, if we keep picking these losers every week? So, go on, Sam. Tell me, what's that? Chelsea, Tottenham, Everton, Wolves. Stick it in the magic calculator.
So, Everton, Wolves.
Zeros on it.
Everton, Wolves, Chelsea and Spurs fourfold is 8.62 at the minute on the Betfair Sportsbook, but we'll certainly be boosting that for you.
Okay.
Oh, good, Sam. Good man.
I like the look of that. Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'm quietly confident with that one. Look, I was hugely confident with the FIFA last week.
Another quick shout as well. I know you mentioned Dominic Calvert-Lewin earlier on. I just took a look at the exchange market for you. He's now 13-1 to go on to be the Premier League top goal scorer. Guess where his starting price at the start of the season was? How big were his odds?
33s.
119-1 to be the Premier League top goal scorer at the start of the season.
109.
I mean, I was 80s and I'm not playing.
Oh wow! He's come from 119s to what?
13-1.
Wow! Al, in a word, do you think he can do it?
No, because well, actually, yes, because I haven't bet him, so he's every chance. Yeah, if he stays fit and he keeps, certainly, if Everton keep creating chances like that, my goodness, I would doubt it, to be honest. But good for him. Really good for him.
Well, look how close Ings got, Sam, with a team like
exactly. Yeah,
Calvert-Lewin be in the mix next season.
Salah's currently the favourite at the minute at 5-1, and closely behind him, Aubameyang at 11-2. But I just think, you know, it's very open. And listen, we're only 2 games in, aren't we? But I just feel this league's already feeling a lot more exciting than it was last year.
Yeah,
Salah will win it.
Yeah, good to speak to you, Sam. That's Sam Rosbottom from Betfair. So there is our fourfold this week. Chelsea, Tottenham, Everton and Wolves. We'll get that boosted by Betfair as well. As I said, Al, this time next week we'll be millionaires. So, Al, we've put the football world to bed once again this week. We've chosen another winning acca. Yeah, right. And look, so much to talk about. Again, who would have thought that this week just gone by, we would have had the new record, 44 goals. It seems to be breaking records every week. So exciting, such a competitive Premier League, so many talking points and so many controversial points by you. I think you've sacked about 4 managers already and we're only in...
Oh, God. I'm sorry, everybody. Listen, not in fever. There's a lot of people will be thinking our manager won't be there by Christmas, etc., etc. We've tried to pick the bones out of a few things. There's some real good positive things for teams. But there's a couple of teams that are staring down the barrel at the moment and need a good result at the weekend, Will. So it'll be interesting. And let's fingers crossed for our ACCA. And Betfair will hopefully boost our price for us.
Yeah, thanks very much to Betfair. This has been the group chat. Get involved with us. Give this guy some stick on Twitter. You can find both of us idiots on there and disagree with us or tell us that we're right. Use the hashtag the group chat on social media to get involved. And we'll see you again next week.